Hello, students. Today we're going to go over informational text elements. The essential questions we're going to cover are: what are some common features in informational texts? And how do elements of an informational text connect to each other? So the first question that you're going to answer is right here. You're going to put your questions or terms here, and you're going to fill in the blank. So what is an informational text? Informational texts are also called expository writing. They are nonfiction. Fiction is something that is make-believe, so nonfiction is not make-believe. In other words, it's real people or events. The goal of expository is to educate the reader about a topic. Okay, examples of expository texts could include your textbooks, news articles, etc. These are examples of informational texts. All informational texts are nonfiction. Okay, so right here you would write the word nonfiction. They're about real people and events. There are no fictional characters. So unlike narratives, you're not going to have any make-believe characters. These texts are organized without having a plot. So how is informational text different from fictional text? They're both texts, we read them both, but one, the objective is to give information in informational texts. In fictional texts, typically they're writing to entertain, and they're writing about make-believe. Okay, now we're going to talk about formatting. Informational texts contain a number of ways to make it easier for readers to follow along and get the information that they need. These characteristics include titles, headers, subheadings, bold words to show vocabulary that is important. You're also going to see maps and illustrations to help you understand what's important. It's going to point to the central idea, which is a one-sentence summary of the text. There are 4 common text structures in informational writing. There's description. So if we're writing about Ethan A. Chase Middle School and we were to put that here in the center, then I might talk about ASB, I might talk about clubs, core classes, electives, discipline. And all of these different paragraphs would all be about Ethan A. Chase. Cookbooks are a good example of chronological or sequential order. So are directions on how to assemble something. Like if you go to IKEA, sometimes you see that little fold out that tells you what steps you need to follow. These typically include illustrations, and it'll tell you what to do at each step. Cause and effect. You might have a cause, and that creates an effect. Okay, so if you think about, if I throw a rock into the center of a lake, the effect is that the lake is going to ripple, right? There's going to be waves. So I might go, okay, so here's the event. The event is that I got a D in language arts, right? We're talking about this event right here in the center. Okay, well, why did I get a D? I have to think about the causes. Well, I didn't study, and a lot of my work was incomplete, and I didn't really understand it. Okay, so I kind of need tutoring. So maybe we have a parent-teacher conference because you got a D, and as an effect, now you have tutoring. Your parents are checking Aries once a week, and you have a homework time. Problem solution is similar to cause and effect, but it's focusing on a problem and ways to solve it. Okay, so there's a lot of littering at Discovery Park. So we go, okay, well, What could we do to solve it? We could have more garbage cans available. We could have more administration at Discovery Park, and we could have a community cleanup day. Okay, that's how problem solution is discussed. Compare and contrast is looking at two different texts, and it's saying, okay, what is different about the text and what is the same? And what is the same is going to go in the center. Okay, how is fact different from an opinion? So some of these texts are going to be a mixture of fact and opinion. So you have to know, well, what is fact and how can I differentiate that from opinion? A fact is something that can be proven true or untrue using a reliable source. And an opinion is just the way someone feels about something. For example, it is a fact that both cats and dogs are pets. It is my opinion that dogs make better pets. That's my opinion. It's just how I feel about it. So now we have to look at reliable sources. What are reliable sources? Something that is a reliable source is trustworthy. And we need to look at trustworthy sources when we're gathering facts. Reliable sources include scholarly websites ending in .edu or .gov. And the reason for this is that experts write those websites and it has to be fact-checked before it can be published. Because informational writing can be a mixture of facts and opinions, it's important to watch out for bias. I was just talking earlier about cats and dogs, and it was my opinion that dogs make better pets. Well, that's because I'm biased towards dogs. I have an unfair favor for dogs, and that's because I've never owned a cat. So I have kind of a closed-minded or unfair opinion of what it would be like to own a cat because I've never owned one. Okay, bias is being in favor or against an idea, thing, or person, usually in a way that's closed-minded, prejudicial, meaning we're judging something before we really know it, or it's just unfair. Sometimes people have political bias. Sometimes their bias has to do with religion. And sometimes they have different racial biases. Author's purpose. You want to think about the author's purpose when they are writing, because it can kind of help you understand what they're trying to get you to do. Are they trying to persuade you? Are they trying to make the reader think and feel the same way that they do? Are they simply trying to inform you? Informational text should try to limit its bias. Okay, so we want to stay balanced. Or is it just trying to entertain you and bring you enjoyment? Okay, all of this information, these headings, these changes in font, they're meant to highlight the central idea. We learned about that today. That's a one-sentence summary of the text. Your central idea should be supported using supporting details. Those are details that support the reader's understanding of the main argument. So now that we've gone over this, I need you to write a summary of 4 to 5 sentences that answer the 2 essential questions that we've learned at the beginning of these notes. What are some common text features or graphics that you would see in an informational text? How do the elements of an informational text connect to each other? Okay.